Hello there, everyone. It's Sarah here from the Sisters Enchanted, where it's our mission to make magic mainstream and help women conjure joy in their lives through everyday magic. And I am suffering from a case of horrible tech troubles this morning. Um, so we'll see if anybody is able to join us here live. If you're watching this on the replay, I do apologize for anybody who was joining us on Crowdcast today or on YouTube, since you're not all on Facebook. But it's just the video won't load, and I don't know why. It's super frustrating. So I'll be sure to talk to the tech people about that. In the meantime, we are here on Facebook, and we are wrapping up Magic Week with day 5. So let me get this video shared to the groups that needs to be shared to, and then we will continue on. So we're a little bit late getting started as a result of my tech trouble. So this week we have been going through Magic Week. We started the week on Wednesday talking about working with the phases of the moon. On Tuesday we talked about the chakras. On Thursday we talked about super simple everyday magic, and yesterday we talked tarot, and we had Anna and Nick join us a couple times. Hi Christina. So yeah, let me get this video shared out. Again, I apologize for all these tech troubles, and anybody who's watching this later today on a replay, I apologize that some of you aren't on Facebook, and so we're not able to catch this live, unfortunately. Big bummer. Okay, so video is shared, and I think that we are good to go. Good morning, Patty. Okay, so over the last few days, we talked a lot about some really fun, really super magical, cool topics, and I think that what happens whenever we get this much information thrown at us at once, we tend to sort of like not know what to do with it or how to actually use all this information, or it seems like a lot. So I wanted to talk to you today a little bit about like seasonal living and cyclical living and cycles, and how we can incorporate working with this lunar energy and this chakra knowledge that we discovered and all this good stuff. So when we look at the seasons and what's happening around us, right? In our environment, there's all this stuff happening. Here in the Northern Hemisphere, we are, depending where you live, I guess, in the Northern Hemisphere, if you're somewhere like Florida, then it's just always nice out for you. But where I am in Connecticut anyway, we are just emerging on spring. So the trees are maybe starting to have some buds. Some of them are still very much dead. There's those little crocus flowers blooming in my front yard, and we can look at what's happening in the world around us, and then look at what's happening with us internally, and see how we can incorporate all these magical practices that we've sort of thought about working on over the past few days. So in a time like this, in a seasonal period like this, where the world is just starting to emerge again, this is a great time to start working on the areas of us that we'd really like to start to have emerging again. And this can be for me, this is very much like solar plexus chakra stuff. It's kind of like uncovering, being seen again, and maybe some sacral chakra stuff, like what am I really passionate about? How can I bring some passion, some joy, some desire into my life, and working on our energy centers in alignment with what's happening seasonally. When we look at, if you're in the Southern Hemisphere and you're going into these darker months of the year, right? Everything's starting to kind of quiet down around you. That's really this sort of upper chakra stuff. It's this more spiritual, higher level stuff. Your intuition. What are you hearing? What are you experiencing? What are you sensing? Because it's quieter. We're not living out, we're living in during that time. So when we look at incorporating what we've talked about over the last few days into our daily life, I think it's really important to look at what is happening, environmentally around us, and how we're feeling in relation to that, because we don't always feel super in sync with that, and it can matter, greatly, can depend greatly on where you actually are in the world and how you're being impacted environmentally speaking. So when we look at all this information, we're like, okay, so I'm going to do lunar tracking, I'm going to work on my energy centers, I'm going to work on creating some everyday magic with my coffee and candles every day, and I'm going to read tarot every day. That can be like so much craziness to do, and it's too much, and it's almost like you're just setting yourself up for kind of spiritual failure, because you're going to feel like, I'm not doing it and I'm behind and I'm the worst, and none of that is the case. I think it's just looking at kind of what can you do right now to make the most of your energy and your experience. And so for me, that's looking at what's happening seasonally, and then kind of break that down to what's happening with the moon, right? And how we can interact with that as well. And if I'm doing things like pulling a tarot card a day, or looking at setting aside time to do a reading for myself or learn my cards, you know, like what time of the day am I feeling most energized, or what time of the day am I feeling most in tune to my higher self, my intuition, and then rolling with those times. So starting to identify your ebbs and flows and energy is going to be really super helpful and really useful in actually learning all these things and incorporating them into your daily life. I know that in the beginning of the day, for me, I'm more jazzed, like I'm more awake, and I'm more apt to actually take time to do some of that super simple everyday magic stuff, like you know, stir some magic into my morning food or my coffee, or light the candle for the day, or charge up a crystal. Whereas at the end of the day, when I'm more like, oh my gosh, this has been such a long day, I'm so tired, and the last thing I'm thinking of is like sitting down with intention, right? And then, you know, there's always this like quiet spot for me sort of after lunchtime where I get settled back into whatever it is I'm doing, where I'm more able to stop and listen for a little bit and kind of hear what's going on around me, what's going on intuitively, and sort of learning how to identify the cycles and of the seasons around you, plus also your own, I think is how you are best able to incorporate all of this stuff into your life. So Christina's having tech trouble today. Her Facebook keeps closing. Yeah, I normally do. I've been doing these videos from a software called Crowdcast, and Crowdcast wouldn't load my video. And so said it was taking too long, and then was not allowing my stuff to work. So hi again, Karen. Sarah says magical ADHD. Yes, Andrea, I just moved over from Crowdcast. I apologize, it will not work. So I tried a whole new link and everything. I tried to set up a whole separate thing, and it just won't load. I don't know why. So I'll email their customer support to let them know that they made an epic magical failure today. But here we are over on Facebook. So, you know, everything's meant to be for some reason, I suppose. Yes, we just weren't supposed to be crowdcasting today. Yeah, so totally, Sarah, magical ADHD. And I think that people get really overwhelmed, and you're like, I need to learn about oils and incense and crystals and smoke and drum circles and I don't know, everything. And you just don't need to learn about everything. And I think that learning how to identify your own energetic highs and lows, and working with the seasons around you, and then doing what is going to serve you best in that moment is going to set you up for the most success. Oh, cool. Thanks, Andrea. Yeah, I know. I use Crowdcast because not everybody's on Facebook, but unfortunately, it just won't work today. Okay, so we talked about sort of looking at identifying the seasonal shifts around you and working with those. And again, if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, I mentioned that to me, this is very like as the earth is growing, it's a great time to sort of work on these lower chakras for you. Like, what are you nurturing? What are you growing? How are you being seen? How are you seeing other people? All of this real tangible stuff. That's the light half of the year. So May 1st through October 31st here in the Northern Hemisphere is our light half of the year. And then November 1st through the end of April would be our dark half of the year. And for me, that's more sort of the spiritual stuff. And then we have our heart chakra, which is right in the middle of that. And I think that that's something we always sort of need to be incorporating and working on, because that's that unconditional love piece. And if we aren't unconditionally loving ourselves, other people, the world around us, everything else gets wonky. So that's kind of like always there and always in motion, always to be worked on. But right now, depending where you are in the world, and most of us here are most people here are in the US and then Canada and the UK. So for most of us, this is really that emerging time. It's that birthing time. It's the time that we're being seen. The earth is coming to light again, you know, like everything's growing. It's not birthing, it's the fertile time. Everything's fertile. That's the word I was looking for. And so what can we kind of work on in our lower chakras? And so I would start there. If you're like, okay, this is a lot of information, what should I do? I would work on that. Another cool thing you can do is incorporate tarot into this practice with intention. So you can actually pull cards that represent to you kind of this idea of fertility, of growth. This could be some Pentacles cards, some of the like the Six of Cups, the Four of Wands. Those are great cards for like this sort of joy and happiness, bringing things together, fertile energy. The cool thing about the wands suit and tarot, if you look at the wands, they're usually budding leaves, and it's because the wands are very much alive. They're not dead. So while it's it's that fast-moving, quick decision sort of stuff, they are still alive, and very much like, bringing things to life, bringing ideas to life, which is pretty cool, bringing your passions out, which is why we act so quickly when we think on them. But any of these cards that represent fertility to you, and then the major arcana, sort of the Fool up to the Hierophant, that's all kind of your first experiences with Earth, and that's a lot of lower chakra stuff. So it's childhood stuff, what we know to be true. So intentionally working with these sorts of cards in with this practice can be really fun also, and sort of incorporate everything together. I'm going to have a drink of coffee, morning elixir, although it's almost lunchtime here. We eat lunch very early in my house. So good morning, Tiffany. Yeah, so I would, anyway, that's what we're doing today, wrapping everything up, pulling everything back together. So are there any questions from anybody that I can answer about any of the topics that we have talked about? I'm a little off course because I don't have, if I screen share on Facebook, then I can't get back. And so I don't have the thing that I was going to show you. And also we were going to do a meditation today, but I was going to play one of our meditations and with music, and I can't do it from here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to include it in the replay link for you. So I'm going to upload this, and I'm going to put the meditation in a replay link so you could do it yourself, since Crowdcast poo-pooed on my plans this morning and wouldn't let me share all the things that I wanted to share. Good morning, everyone. So many new faces here today. So are there any questions I can answer for anybody about tarot, working with the moon, the chakras, putting everything together to sort of the super simple everyday magic, to put everything together to incorporate a little bit of all of this magic into your life in a way that makes sense and feels good? Let me know. Like I said, we were going to do a meditation, but I can't play it since my other thing stopped working. So, Yvonne, if I'm going with the flow, I'm trying. Yeah, nothing like staring at a black screen of death when you're supposed to be talking to people. If you're new to working with the seasons, something that I think is really cool. Let me get a piece of paper. I will, since I can't show you on the screen. I'll have to draw it out. And you all know I'm no sort of artist. So we have this idea of a circle, right? So we have this idea of a circle. So we can look at the circle and cycles as like break it down into all sorts of details. We can look at the 24 hours of our day as a circle. We can look at the 12 calendar months as a circle. The zodiac signs, there's no coincidence that your birth chart is in a circle. The seasons, the wheel of the year, everything is a circle, right? It's always cycling back. The moon, the lunar phases, everything. So when we look at this circle, we can look at, let me just put this at north, east, south, and west. So we have all of these things happening on our wheel of the year, on our own days, all this cool stuff. And we can look at the elements that these are associated with. Let me write them down. We have earth, air, fire, water. And then with our tarot, we have pentacles. We have swords. We have wands. And we have cups. So if we're looking at this as like our day, right? Your magical day. Say you want to create your own magical day. I know you can't really see this. So if we have up here the North in Pentacles, oh, where is it? It's backwards. This would be kind of like, if this is midnight, this is our rest time, right? And when we are resting, so what is this? This is 3 in the morning. That's 6 in the morning. Why can't I suddenly don't know what a clock looks like? If that's 6, how does the clock go? 1, 2, 3. No, this would be 3. But we're looking at this as daytime. This is not working. So this is half of our day, right? This is till like dinner. This is till like lunchtime down here. This is lunch. So if this is half of our day, this time we're sleeping. This is our pentacles time. It's when we're nurturing ourselves. This is this earthly stuff. It's when we're nurturing. We're relaxing. We are planting the seeds of our rest so that when we wake up, we can be abundant. So we wake up here around the east, and this is our idea of logic and swords. So any dreams that we had overnight, we start to process in the morning. We try to like uncover them, and our logic kicks in. We think, what do we need to do today to be successful people? And that's we're going to just do what we need to do. We're full of ideas. We have all these to-do lists, all these tasks. We come down here around lunchtime, and this is that idea of wands and fire, and we have this element of the south with fire too. So around lunchtime, we're rocking and rolling, we're getting stuff done, but maybe by now we're like starting to feel a little bit frazzled from the day, particularly depending like what time of day lunch falls for you. We're starting to feel a little bit harried and out of it, and so we might start to lose some of that logic. We're just like, oh, I don't care, just do it. Oh, I don't care, just do it. I'm tired of this, just do it. So we're running on fuel at this point. We're making decisions based on how our energy is, not based on logic anymore. And then by the time it's time to go to sleep again, and we're moving into dinner time and this like sort of nighttime aspect, we're more emotional. We've experienced this whole day. We've had all these emotions from other people. We might be like emotionally exhausted, or something really great happened and we're over the moon excited. And then it's time to move back into this nurturing place of rest again. So we can look at your magical day and also see where these line up for you. And we experience these cycles throughout the day. So when you're working on energy centers like your chakras too, you can look at that and say, well, when for me is the really grounded, nurturing, centered sort of time? That's when I want to work on my lower chakras. When am I working from a place of like a lot of emotion and I'm not really thinking clearly, and I'm in between this kind of like fire and water state, and like it's all kind of coming together? Maybe that's when I need to take a step back and focus on unconditionally loving myself and unconditionally loving others. And when am I like in the Zen state, and when am I like moving from emotion back into nurturing, and what can I do to open myself up, connect myself intuitively during this time? And we can see that we often, most of us will repeat these cycles more than once in a day. So you'll kind of have like a pattern of them like in half the day, and then a pattern later again, you know, in another portion of the day, depending when you're like most awake and most like when you have those sort of shift periods. We all have shift periods in the day, and you kind of have to identify your own. But working with your chakras, knowing when you want to work with your divination tools or do meditation. And again, for me, like first thing in the morning, that's when I'm really like alive and awake. I'm like, okay, let's set some intentions. Let's light this candle. Later on in the day, I'm usually not thinking of that. I'm just like survival mode between the fire and the water. And that's how we can incorporate all this stuff we talked about into creating our own magical days and our own magical lives. Let's see here. Shannon says, just diving into tarot and came across the Mystic Test Book, pulling from deck of cards. Any tip on how to find out about it? Shannon, I don't know what you're talking about. So no. Adri says, I was asking last night about tarot and swords and wands with fire and air. Yes, some people do reverse those. Some people read wands as air and swords as fire. And I think that from what I know, it's most common. The most common way is with wands as fire and swords as air. And I personally like that way, because when I look at air and swords and the idea of cutting through to logic, it just makes sense to me that like logic is cutthroat, right? It's not emotional. It's not easygoing. And wands, when we think of wands and fire, like I mentioned before, the wands all have leaves on them, so they're very much still alive. And fire can be nurturing, like it can keep us warm, it can cook our food, or it can be very destructive, just like the suit of wands can be. Like your ideas and your ability to move quickly can be very good for you, but it can also leave you with a lot to bear, much like a destructive fire would leave you with a lot to bear. And I think that I like the idea of wands for fire because, you know, it can do both of those things for us, right? And also, depending on how alive your wood is when you try to burn it, it may or may not work for you. Like it may It may burn, it may not burn, just like an idea, a quick moving decision. Depending how ripe it is, it may burn or it may not burn. Jody says, when you mention playing with certain tarot cards, what does that mean? Do you make a separate pile? Yeah, well, so sometimes, Jody, I'll work with cards with intention. Like I might pull out, like if I'm doing some abundance work, right? Like the 10 of Pentacles is very abundant, and specifically have that card with a candle and some crystals, or maybe put a card specifically in the center of my reading table, and then pull cards around it and say, like, what is not allowing me to be the 10 of Pentacles? Or like the 6 of Cups, that's that childhood, you know, youthful energy. What's not allowing me to be the 6 of Cups, and pull cards around it and see what's happening, like to that. Or what do I need to do to get to this sort of thing? And pull the card with intention is what I'm meaning. So your 3 of Swords is always showing up. What does threes? I don't know if there's another part to that question. So threes typically are like, I don't want to say they're not, I don't want to call them a struggle, but three is actually a very joyful number. 3 itself, like numerologically speaking, 3 is a very joyful number. This is a 3 year that we're in, a year of joy, and Jupiter's stationed in Sagittarius all year. It's a very abundant sort of year for us. But 3s in tarot, it's like I think it's kind of because twos are a decision to be made, and then at 3s, if you haven't made the decision, or you haven't, like, you know, appropriately accepted the decision that you made, you find yourself with a lot to do. Like if you have 3 wands, you only have 2 hands. You can't carry 3 wands easily. The 3 of Pentacles, is like that teamwork card. But if you're not open to accepting teamwork, then those people are just going to annoy you. The 3 of Cups, it's great to celebrate and have fun, but if you party too hard during that celebration, you know, how's that going to impact your next day, your sense of self-worth, the other people around you? Like 3 of Swords, it's the heartbreak card, but are you causing your own heartbreak, or are you attaching yourself too much? So with 3s, they tend to bring like either this idea of like with the Pentacles and the Cups, like they look like really good cards, right? But what can happen if you're not available to receive that good thing in a way that's healthy for you? And then with the Swords and the Wands, it's a little bit more, the Swords particular, it always looks unpleasant, but the Wands, like you can't, it's just hard to do. It's hard to carry 3 things with 2 hands. And so if we haven't really set ourselves up at that decision making to sort of handle what happens next, that kind of lines up like, well, is the next thing going to be a problem, or is it going to be good for you? Which is why every tarot card has like great things and not so great things to it. So 3s, if you're getting a lot of 3s, I would just ask, you know, like, are you taking the best of each opportunity that's given to you? Are you making the best of each choice that you can make? Like, are you making the best choice for you, the thing that brings you the most joy? And the 3 of Swords, particular, that heartbreak card, it's kind of, I like to look at that as like, well, what are we attached to that we can let go of that just keeps bringing us down? So Yvonne, love the chakra chat from a couple days back. Yeah, I love when we said, I used to teach just the chakra class, and it was always a really good fun one. I'm going to put in the email that I send out after this with the replay, since everything was busted, a link to a cool printable too with lots of chakra info. Oh, Tiffany, I don't know if you saw my question on YouTube. I haven't been on YouTube in like the last day, so no, I should have gone over there and checked. I'm a big loser. But with tarot, isn't energy the way you get your reading? Yeah, so so when you're doing a tarot reading for someone, or someone's giving it to you, the idea is it's that your energy that's connecting with that person's energy, that they're connecting with your energy, and receiving information that would be pertinent to you. Yeah. If you're reading for yourself, you can, you know, your own higher self sort of energy. If you, I don't know if this was related to when you're like pulling cards with intention, pulling a card specifically, you know, your energy will still work for that. Oh, about the Mercury retrograde. Yeah, Mercury retrograde was fine for me. It turns out the shadow period, not so much. What I had last night too, I was working on a page on our website for the holistic witchery class. I have an info session today at 1 o'clock and one tomorrow at 6. And if you join the info session live, I'm going to give out a link to our Star Magic class for free. And so I was putting it on the page that I would send to people. And two things happened. I've been doing this now for almost for like 3.5 years that I've been building my own websites and stuff. And two things happened that I had never seen happen before. One thing happened, and then like another page popped up after I saved the web page that I made. Like I saved it, and then I published it, and then this thing came up that was like, I don't know, some error or something, and then it was gone. It's like I just spent half an hour on that. Yeah, the last tech stuff in the last 12 hours. This was late last night. So yeah, in the last 12 hours, the Mercury retrograde shadow has come to bite me. Oh yeah, Jody, intentional reading. I love pulling cards with intention. Like sometimes too, I'll pull out all the court cards and just pull one court card and ask what do I need to embody for this thing going forward? Like this adventure that I'm about to embark on, or this decision I'm making, what energy do I need to embody for this time period? And I just pull out all the court cards and then pull one. So you can totally pull cards with intention. I think it's a great way to learn tarot too, while you're like trying to figure out which ones you want to work with. And then see what comes up. And then like pulling a court card or like a major arcana card or some kind of card to represent whatever it is that you're working on or want to call into being, and then putting cards sort of like in a spread around it to see, well, what's the foundation? Like if you have the 10 of Pentacles in the center, what's like 3 cards, what's the foundation of that's going to get me to the 10 of Pentacles, and then 3 cards above it. But what's happening with me emotionally, spiritually, mentally, that might not be allowing it to happen. So what foundation do I need to lay to get to this? And then what's happening in here that's not allowing me to get to this? And pulling cards intentionally that way, I think is super fun and amazing. Good morning, Michelle. Michelle, I started late too. We had all kinds of tech problems this morning. My tech was not on my side. Hate when that happens. It's okay. Let's see here. Oh, the website. Well, I got it fixed now. I just redid it. It just, I don't know what happened. And the error message that popped up in 3.5 years, I've never seen pop up before. And then I just real quick recreated it the second time around. It took me less time, since by then I already knew what I wanted to do. The first time though, I was like, oh, what should I put where? And the whole thing busted. It was very frustrating. Anywho, so yeah, so we were going to do a meditation today too, but because of my tech problems, I can't play the video. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to email the video out along with the replay to this video, so that those people that are not on Facebook, so there's actually quite a bit of people sign up for this class that are not on Facebook at all. I'm going to send them the replay video, and I will send the meditation for you guys as well. So Randy, yeah, no, the crowdcast was busted. Busted. So just a short chat, Randy. The meditation we were going to do, I'm going to email out, since I can't play the video here straight from Facebook. I had to be on Crowdcast to play the video, and Crowdcast wouldn't work. So I'm going to send them an email and say, you guys are the worst. Not really, but what happened? Fix it. So that's it. Can I answer any questions about anything else tarot related, about the moon or chakras? It's a new moon the end of this week. So perfect time to start following those lunar cycles. And if you're not signed up for the info session or a info session for Holistic Witchery, if you're interested in learning more about that, there's one today at 1 o'clock, one tomorrow at 6 o'clock, and I'll tell you all about that class. And it's going to be good, and I'd love to have you guys join. Let's see here. Yeah, Randy, I know, that's what I was saying. Mercury retrograde was fine to me. The Mercury shadow, the last 12 hours, my tech stuff has been insane, crazy, and has not been fine. So it's coming back for me now. Gave me a pass during the actual shadow, or during the retrograde period. Shadow, not so much. All right, guys. Well, then what I'm going to do is I will, Michelle says, can't wait for the new Holistic Witchery. Yeah, I think it's going to be so good. It's going to be over the whole year. We're going to do one class per quarter of the 4 main sort of classes, the moon class, the chakra class, the tarot class, and the everyday magic class. We'll have guest teachers in between there too, and we're going to make it more doable. So each quarter, like this quarter is 13 weeks. So we're going to have a welcome chat this coming week, but the actual class content won't start till the next week because this is a longer quarter. And so we'll have 8 live chats over the whole quarter instead of like cramming in 8 back-to-back for 8 weeks. Give people time to do all the things, and yeah, it's going to be good stuff. And then, of course, if you're in Holistic Witchery, you can come join us at the end for our like graduation event here in Connecticut if you want. It's totally optional. But, you know, we like to do things like feed people and give people swag and stuff. So now that we have a physical location, we shall gather the people and feed them there. I went and picked up our keys yesterday, so it's exciting stuff. Maybe we'll live stream from there this week so you guys can see it. Should be good. We got to get some furniture in there though. It's just empty. Empty, empty, empty. Yeah. All right then. Well, I'm rambling. So I'm going to go and I'm going to download this, put it on YouTube, and I'll email out the replay for anybody not on Facebook. And I will also put the meditation video that I was going to share with you guys today. It's one from our Enchanted Journey program, and it's a pretty good one. People like it. So I'm going to send that out. Yes, Michelle, come to Connecticut. It'll be a good excuse for you. Good fun excuse. Lots of good coffee and snacks to be had here. See, Mercury retrograde is terrible for you. Mine is good. Like I said, shadow. It's not starting off well so far. Here's hoping that stops. All right, guys, thanks for hanging with me this last week. Shannon, do we do local workshops? Yes, we are going to be doing local workshops. That's why we got the spot. We've had quite a demand for local workshops. It's the strangest thing. We did this event at a local library back at Halloween, and we've had like multiple requests from people to do things in person since then. And I probably sound like a really big brat saying this, but I'm highly resistant to like driving very far away places. I don't even like to like this office, or it's not an office, this space we rented, it's literally like a 4-minute drive from my house. But I was like, oh, I'm still gonna work from home because between parking and like getting there, and it's like a whole half hour on my day. So I'm like so resistant to actually going places. We got this when this space popped up, and it's right down the road. It's very close. I was like, all right, if I'm going to leave my house to teach classes, that's the place I'm going to go because it's so close. So yeah, we're going to have an open house sometime, I think the first weekend in May, perhaps. And then we have a Salem, Massachusetts gathering witchy weekend, I like to call it, like retreat event. We have that in May. And then after that, I think is when we will officially kick off workshops and things here in Connecticut. I'm away for a lot of April, and then we have Salem in May. So we're going to have an open house at the beginning of May, and then I think we will officially kick off after that. We're going to host some lounge type events, we're calling them, on weeknights, not every weeknight, obviously. But Anna and Nick are going to do some of those. And then on weekends here and there, we'll have some longer workshops and some moon gatherings and things like that. I'm always on the road, so it's so Anna and Nick are going to be teaching a lot of classes there. Randy, when is the shadow? It's about 2 weeks that the shadow happens for. Nick says, yay for teaching. Yeah, Michelle says, me too. I refuse to take meetings unless someone comes in my area. I won't drive and just say, yes, I'm a total brat. I have so much stuff to do in a day. And for me to like go somewhere, I'm the worst. I can't even believe I'm saying that publicly to people. Like I don't even want to go places. I will have our groceries delivered before I go to the grocery store. So either my husband does it or I have them delivered because I'm like, it just takes forever. The parking, the lines, blah, 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 blah. It's too much. Let's see here. Oh, MJ, no, we have Enchanted Journey chat today at 3. That's a whole separate one. So I will see you guys back there at 3 o'clock today to wrap up our quarter, our Heal Like a Witch quarter. That's at 3. And then on this week, our new unit on Triple Deity and Lore starts. So I'll see you back there at 3. Yeah, so yeah, Mary, awesome. It is pretty cool. It does take too much time. Yeah, thank you guys. All right, so if you want to come to the Holistic Witchery info session and hear what that's about, and I can answer questions for you, that's at 1 o'clock. You can register through there's a link here you can register for. And then if you're in Enchanted Journey, I will see you at 3 o'clock for our wrap-up chat. Good stuff. Shannon's husband's off shopping. That's the way to do it. All right, guys. Thanks for hanging with me this week. And I hope to see some of you later on today. And I'll see our Enchanted Journey members at 3. All right. Bye.